I need to make some fondant to feed my beehives. I'm going to show you how to do that. It's very, very, very straightforward. Basically, we take table sugar, water, and I've got a vinegar in there. You could also use lemon juice. Anything acidic. The process is we're going to warm up the water, add the acid, add that to the sugar, and just mix that up, and then heat it to a very specific temperature for 15-20 minutes. Let that cool down, and then that is then you're basically ready to mix that up in your mixer for a while to break down some of the crystal structure in the mix, and then you can pour that into molds and then make your fondant. All right, so I'll get this all set up and restart the video. So I'm just heating up the water. I've added the vinegar into that. And then we'll add that to the table sugar. Table sugar is sucrose. It's a long chain molecule. It's a carbohydrate. And when you add the hot water and the acid, which is a catalyst, into the sucrose, you break that down into glucose and fructose, which are shorter chain carbohydrates that the bees can readily eat. The bees naturally in their body they have an enzyme called invertase, which does exactly what we're doing here. So we're recreating the inversion of the sucrose into glucose and fructose by heating. So that's called hydrolysis. So we hydrolyze the sugar, which is what the bees do naturally in their body. So they secrete this invertase enzyme just into their sugar gut, the honey sac, and they do naturally what we're doing. So we're basically making honey. In the sense that we don't have the pollen and all the nutrients that you would be getting from the nectar and the flowers, but the good thing is that the bees can eat this fondant because it's more or less the same as what they do need to eat on a regular basis. So I've added the water to the sugar. I'm using the ratio is like 4 parts or 5 parts sugar to 1 part water. I've split the difference. I've got 4.5 parts sugar to 1 part water. I'll have a table in the video that shows you the imperial and metric conversions for call it a large batch and a small batch. The large batch will I guess it'll feed 5 hives for, I don't know, let's say a month, and then the small batch will feed a couple of hives for, let's say, a month. But you're depending on the situation with your bees, your fondant will go more or less quickly. And you need to heat the mixture exactly to 120 Celsius, or it's about 250 Fahrenheit. I'm a home brewer, so I've got what's called a candy thermometer. That's what we used for home brewing. It's very important, mashing grains and whatnot. Actually, we're going through a very similar process. So I'm going to put the candy thermometer in there, heat it up to 120. The temperature is important just because it... let me put that in there. I'll just put it on the side here. The temperature is important because... It affects the percentage of the sucrose that's inverted into glucose and fructose. So if you boil it at a lower temperature for a shorter time, you get a lower percentage converted. If you boil it at 120 Celsius for 15 to 20 minutes, you'll convert about 90% of the sucrose into glucose and fructose. Okay, and that's why it's fairly important. If you don't do that, if you heat it up higher, you're going to get the same like chemistry. You're going to get the glucose and fructose. The consistency of the resulting product is going to be a bit harder, though. You get more of a harder candy. If you do what I'm saying, you'll get a soft, pliable fondant that you can roll out and put into shapes that'll fit your beehive. Right? As your sugar is warming up, make sure to stir it. You don't want to caramelize the sugar whatsoever. That is very bad for bees. It greatly affects their digestive system. So you want nice mix. So I'm going to keep stirring this every couple of minutes just to make sure nothing burns and caramelizes. One other note: some recipes for fondant, baker's fondant, tell you to put in cream of tartar or something like that. Don't do that. It's quite bad for the bees' digestion, I understand. And the bakers put that in because the cream of tartar prevents the crystallization of the fondant. You could be worried about that for your fondant if you want it to be nice and pliable, but I think if you keep track of the heat, don't let it burn and crystallize, and And if you've got a good mix of sugar to water, like 4 to 5 to 1, crystallization is just not going to be a problem. So avoid the cream of tartar. All right, I've been heating this now for about 20 minutes. I had it on high heat to start with. It took about 10 minutes to get the sugar solution up to the 120 degrees Celsius temperature. So if you don't have a dairy or a candy thermometer like I do, okay, 10 minutes at high heat, you'll see the sugar liquefy with the water. It'll start to get to a rolling boil like this. So that's about the temperature that you want. A slow, steady boil. You don't want a lot of foam on the top. Let's say that's 120 degrees Celsius. That's the right temperature. Do that for 20 minutes. All right. I've been it's almost 20 minutes now. I've been stirring this regularly. I don't want any caramelization to occur at the bottom of the pan. One thing I didn't mention that I'll do now, I had the heat up high for about 10 minutes to get up to the required heat. Then I turned it down to pretty low. You can see there. You don't want to keep adding heat to this and burn anything. So you just want to maintain that slow, steady rolling boil for the 20 minutes. All right, I'm all done boiling now, so I'll let this cool off. You can, if you have it, put it in cold water, some ice cubes, a fridge, outside if it's cold enough. At this point as well, if you have access to essential oils like wintergreen, lemongrass, peppermint, spearmint, etc., you can add that in. I'll put something on the video about how much. I think it's like a teaspoon or a tablespoon or something, and you can just add that in as an additional little thing for the bees. I think it prevents tracheal mites and things like that if you have it. I've cooled my sugar solution down to about 80 Celsius. There's the consistency you can see that it's at. And what I'm going to do now is just pop it into my mixer and put it on for several minutes. And it's supposed to turn into, it's supposed to like break down all those crystals that you can kind of see in there. And then just make it pliable. Okay, I'm just going to pour it in and start it up. Letting the sugar solution seep into the pot. One thing you'll notice that I found is candy is super sticky, right? And be very, very careful. If this gets all over, you drop anything, geez, you will be a very, very unhappy person. I've done beating it, and yeah, it's like a batter-like consistency now. It's quite white, and what I'm going to do is pour it. Get out of the shade. I'm going to pour it onto this cookie sheet that I've lined with parchment paper. I sprayed as well some cooking spray on the top. I tried the wax parchment paper without the oil and with, and definitely you want the oil. Okay, it's going to just make the fondant come up much more easily. So I'm just going to pour it on now, and I'll take a picture after. Okay, well there's the finished product. I just poured it into the oiled parchment paper lined cookie sheet, and it looks good. I think I'm just going to let it cool down, and then cut it up or roll it out or whatever, and feed it to the bees. I'm just going to lay it on top of the hives on the inside. So my rule of thumb for this is going to be, I made a recipe that was halfway between the 5 and 10 pound or whatever the kg equivalent was. So I got 2 cookie sheets out of that. I'm going to say that the rule of thumb should be for the small recipe that I posted, use 2 cookie sheets and get them ready, and then for the large, get 3 ready, maybe even 4. Okay, depending how thick you want. This is probably, I don't know, it's probably 4 or 5 millimeters thick. So okay. Anyways, this was super easy. The only thing I'd say is be really careful with the sugar. Candy making is a very messy, sticky, very sticky business. So just keep a lot of cloths around, and try to be careful. Okay, good luck.